When I discovered my son's text, "You can't come, family only," it revealed an unexpected truth. The factory floor buzzed with the steady hum of machinery, but inside Sam's chest, the roar of uncertainty drowned it all out. He wiped the sweat from his brow and set his tools down. Sam would stop being a workaholic. But this was the reality of being a single dad at 40, working to provide for a son who was growing increasingly distant. As he clocked out, his heart weighed down with fatigue and doubt. He couldn't shake the nagging feeling that everything was shifting beneath him. When he finally stepped inside their modest home, something unfamiliar awaited. Jake's phone buzzed incessantly on the kitchen counter, messages flashing there like sirens. Curiosity pulled at Sam's fingers, and he picked it up, heart sinking as he read the text. "You can't come, family only." The words swirled in his mind, a bitter taste settling in his stomach. Was it anger? Confusion? Hurt? The screen felt like a barrier, a digital gate closing off their connection. "Jake?" Sam's voice rang through the house, crackling with unease. Jake appeared from the shadows of his room, a frown plastered across his face. This wasn't like them. There had been a time when Jake shared everything, when he didn't hesitate to confide. But now, shadows flickered in Jake's eyes that made Sam question everything he thought he knew about their relationship. "I saw your messages," Sam pressed, striding to keep his voice steady, but the tremors of worry betrayed him. "What's going on?" Jake shifted uncomfortably, crossing his arms like a defensive shield. "Just some friends. It's no big deal, Dad." But the words felt heavy. Sam could see it in his son's body language, the way he avoided eye contact. Why was Jake shutting him out? Why was it suddenly a burden to uphold their family traditions? He could feel the heat rising in him, a fire ignited by emotion, one he had been stoking within himself all these years. Each year added another layer of pressure, weighing him down. His own childhood echoed through his mind, the sacrifices his parents made, the loyalty drilled into him. Yet here he was, struggling to remain relevant in his son's life, feeling the ground shift beneath their feet. Sam grappled with the fear of losing the connection they once had, substituting whispers of love for the sounds of a social world Jake was now so keen to be part of. The hurt twisted into a knot as their conversation escalated into a chaotic clash of needs. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow.
If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The tension snapped, leaving a thick silence between them, each repairing their hearts in isolation. Jake yearned for acceptance, but felt bound by an invisible weight, the legacy of family. Sam, rooted in the past, wrestled with the balance of bolstering Jake's independence while clinging to the values that defined him. Each moment caught them in a tangled web of despair, of wanting to evolve, yet fearing the loss of what they had. As the air thickened with the unspoken, an unexpected family crisis crashed through their world, dismantling the walls they had both built around themselves. Forced into proximity amid chaos, the flickering embers of their connection threatened to spark anew. But in this storm of life, one question lingered. Could they truly redefine family without unraveling the threads of love they had woven so tightly? As Sam stood frozen in the doorway, the weight of impending realization pressed harder. What must they sacrifice to allow for change? And could they hold on to love while finding their way through the dark? Sam woke up early the next morning, the hum of life outside barely breaking through the fog of unease that lingered in his mind. The sun streamed through the kitchen window, casting warm light across the table, yet the brilliance did nothing to thaw the icy tension that had nested in his heart. He moved automatically, preparing breakfast, each motion a testament to his determination to create normalcy despite the storm brewing just beneath the surface. As he scrambled eggs, his thoughts tumbled like loose change, clinking against the walls of his mind. Conversations he needed to have, fears he needed to confront. Jake emerged bleary-eyed, his hoodie drawn tight around him, a fortress against the world. The sight struck Sam with a pang of nostalgia, a glimpse of the boy Jake once was, before adolescence carved out distance between them. "Morning," Sam offered lightly, trying to dissolve the tension that seemed to hang around them like a persistent fog. "Hey," Jake muttered, sliding into a chair at the table, staring blankly at the plate before him, with an expression that mirrored the day's emotional haze. Sam sat across from him, forcing himself to break the silence. "I thought we could talk about yesterday, about family traditions." Jake didn't look up. Sam felt the knot in his stomach tighten. The familiar connection they once shared felt fragile, like glass poised to shatter. Each word he chose carried the weight of history, disappointment, and the looming uncertainty of their relationship. "I know you're growing up and want to spend time with your friends. I
get that," Sam tried, voice steady despite the turmoil, "but it feels like you're shutting me out." "Maybe there's a reason for that," Jake replied sharply, his voice cracking slightly, revealing an unexpected vulnerability. The response struck Sam to his core. In his son's tone, he detected a mix of frustration and loneliness, a longing for something more than what their static family dynamic could offer. "And what reason would that be?" Sam asked, the quiet resolute in his voice undermined by the sense of urgency that throbbed in his belly. "For once, can you just trust that I need space?" Jake shot back, the walls that defined him rising again. In that moment, the echoes of sleepless nights spent worrying about his son merged with the realization that Jake wasn't just escaping family. It felt like he was trying to forge an identity separate from his father's expectations. An idea sparked within Sam, both terrifying and exhilarating. What if he could tap into that need for independence and turn it into an opportunity for connection? He could feel layers of his own past unspooling as he considered bringing Jake into his world in a new way. "Then let's make a deal," he proposed. "We can set time aside for you to spend with your friends, but let's also carve out our own time, something just for us. No distractions, just us." Jake lifted his gaze finally, uncertainty clouding his expression. "Like what?" "Like going fishing this weekend. Just you and me talking, just like we used to," Sam replied, a desperate hope flickering within. Jake hesitated, casting a sideways glance as if weighing the possibilities. "Okay, but if it's boring, I'm out," he bargained, a glimmer of a smile threatening to break through. Sam chuckled, the tension briefly fracturing. "Fair enough, we'll make it fun." In that moment, a shift occurred. Sam realized he was not only redefining their relationship, but also confronting his own fears, taking a step away from the rigid boundaries he had drawn around paternal obligations. Perhaps, just perhaps, this endeavor would create a shared space where love and independence could flourish side by side. As they finished breakfast, a sense of cautious optimism spread between them. But deep inside, Sam knew the path ahead would not be without hurdles. The delicate balance of establishing new traditions while navigating the uncharted territory of trust and vulnerability would test them both. Later that day, as Sam resumed his work at the factory, the machine's hum felt different, less suffocating, more rhythmic, like a heartbeat echoing his realization. He pondered if he was truly capable of adapting and fostering a connection that would encourage his son to embrace individuality without the loss of familial love. But questions lingered, threading through his thoughts. What if Jake's need for space revealed deeper issues, and what lay behind the door that shrouded Jake's newfound independence? As the day dragged on, Sam found himself staring at the clock, each tick a reminder that the weekend, filled with possibilities and uncertainties, fast approached. The moment of truth loomed ahead. Would they emerge stronger, or would it lead to an unraveling? His heart raced as he imagined his son's face, poised between childhood and adulthood, waiting on the edge of their next adventure. How ready was Sam to face whatever awaited them? The days dragged slowly, each hour stretching with the weight of anticipation. Sam could hardly focus at work, his mind transfixed on the impending fishing trip, both a lighthouse and a storm warning in the fog of their relationship. Each conversation with coworkers felt like a futile attempt to escape his internal chaos, where thoughts of Jake consumed him. "Are you with us, Sam?" Mike's voice pulled him from his reverie. His coworker leaned closer, revealing the concern etched on his face. "Yeah, sorry," Sam mumbled, shaking off the disquiet, not wanting to burden anyone with his familial storms. "Big plans this weekend?" Mike pried, trying to coax an answer from Sam that was more than a distracted nod. Sam hesitated. Could he really share his plans and the doubts underneath? "Just a little fishing trip with my son," he replied, feeling the words catch in his throat. "Sounds great. Enjoy the bonding," Mike encouraged, and Sam felt a flicker of gratitude for his friend's genuine enthusiasm. Yet the moment brought back a fresh wave of anxiety. What if this venture didn't go as planned? What if they once again plunged into silence as they had so many times before? Sam knew he had to prepare for more than just the fishing gear. He needed to arm himself with patience and openness. After work, he sat in his car for a few moments, staring at the steering wheel, pondering the precarious nature of their relationship. What began years ago as a well-worn path of connection now felt like a treacherous cliff. When Jake would joke and trust, they would be an adventure. Lately, their dialogue was strained, efforts to connect overshadowed by the fear of driving his son further away. He decided to take action. Sam reached for his phone to text Jake, an invitation to redirect the focus from fishing to something more casual, like grabbing ice cream afterward. But then he paused, second-guessing his instinct. Would that only suffocate Jake's sense of autonomy? Perhaps the key lay within uncharted boundaries, an understanding of when to push and when to let go. He perched the phone back into the holder and turned to the map of their old fishing spot. Memories surged like tidal waves, laughing at the mishaps, the thrill of new catches, and the way they would talk about everything under the sun. The image was almost unrecognizable now. A fracture formed when Jake began sensing his own space and strayed from the familiar context of family.
That evening, Sam found himself lurking by Jake's door, debating whether to enter and initiate another conversation. The stillness of the house pressed heavily against him. The air carried desperation, seeking connection. "Jake," he called softly, pushing the door slightly ajar. "Yeah?" Jake's voice floated out, tinged with surprise. Sam stepped inside, gathering thoughts like marbles. "I've been thinking about the fishing, and I just want you to know it matters to me. I know things haven't been easy lately." Jake didn't respond immediately, uncertainty hanging in the silence. The way he sat, head down, indicated a barrier was still in place despite their earlier agreement. "I want to hear you," Sam pressed on. "Tell me what you want this weekend to look like. What do you expect from me?" After a moment, Jake shifted in his chair, an overwhelming sigh escaping him. "I want to enjoy it, but not have to pretend everything's okay. I don't want it to feel like a chore," he whispered, revealing a crack in his protective armor. Sam's heart beat fiercely as Jake's words struck deep. They were both standing at the threshold of a relationship that could either evolve or decay. "I get that. We'll figure it out as we go. Just us, nothing planned, no pressure." A hesitant smile began to emerge on Jake's face as he nodded slowly, transitioning into a space of trust. Despite his heart still racing with uncertainties, Sam felt a weight release, an acknowledgement of their shared apprehensions igniting a flicker of hope. Yet, as the night thickened, another sense of anxiety loomed, a residual fear of the weekend and the unspoken truths lurking within their bond. What hidden sentiments might Jake reveal? The stage was set, but Sam couldn't shake the feeling that the true test wouldn't be fishing. It would be navigating what lay beneath the surface of their interactions. With his heart thrumming in his chest, Sam realized it was only the beginning. As sleep finally claimed him, fragments of Jake's insecurities nudged at the corners of Sam's mind. Would this fishing trip merely be another fleeting connection, or the moment they finally uncovered the depths of their relational struggles? The critical conversation awaited, and Sam felt the excitement and fear intertwine, leaving him anxious for what revelations were yet to come. The morning dawned with a thick fog, casting a pall of uncertainty over the day. Sam sat on the edge of his bed, blinking at the muted light that seeped through the curtains. He had hardly slept, each thought tugging at his nerves, weighing him down like stones in his pocket. Today was not just a fishing expedition, it was pivotal, his chance to reclaim a part of his relationship with Jake. He dressed methodically, choosing his worn flannel shirt, the one that used to elicit smiles from Jake during their trips. The process felt symbolic, as if shedding layers could somehow peel back the barriers that had accumulated over time. As he slipped on his boots, he reminded himself of their agreement. No pressure, no pretense. A quick glance at his phone revealed no new messages from Jake, intensifying his unease. Somehow today felt monumental, yet the silence left him questioning if Jake was as invested in the trip as he was. What if Jake changed his mind at the last minute? What if the weekend ended up as just another unspoken disappointment? He pushed those thoughts aside and focused on driving to the lake. The familiar route brought back memories of spontaneous adventures with Jake, laughter echoing against the backdrop of nature. With each turn, he also recalled the times they drifted, when they had lapsed into days of silence, speaking only through the static of the unmade bed and half-eaten takeout. The moment he arrived, he spotted Jake leaning against the car, his expression unreadable. That visible distance between them felt charged,
The fog hid the water, but failed to mask the air thick with tension. Sam approached slowly, each step a negotiation with his own anxiety. "Hey, kiddo," he greeted, trying to sound casual, but his voice trembled slightly, betraying his nervousness. "Hi," Jake replied, an eye roll accompanying the curt response. The barrier remained intact, and Sam could feel the tug of unvoiced feelings thrumming just below the surface. They rode in silence, the truck rumbling over dirt paths as they headed to their chosen fishing spot. Sam's attempts at light banter fell flat, drowned under the weight of Jake's reticence. He couldn't help but wonder if Jake sensed the shift he had been trying to navigate, a lurch from childhood familiarity into some uncharted territory. When they reached the water, Jake jumped out, his movements filled with youthful energy. Sam watched, heart clenching as something deeper gnawed within him. Would this transformed dynamic be fruitful, or were they wading deeper into troubled waters? With rods clumsily in hand, they settled into a rhythm. Sam cast his line, focusing intently, seeking solace in the repetitive motion. Yet casual fishing turned into a mirror reflecting back his insecurities. Each ripple splashing against the shore echoed his fear. What if today was just more of the same? "Dad, this is boring. Can we go home?" Jake suddenly blurted, his irritation crackling through the air. The words struck Sam harder than he expected. "Jake," he started, but the protest caught in his throat. He realized this wasn't just about fishing for his son. It was about diving into the emotional depth that lay unexamined between them. "Look, I know things have shifted between us, but I need you to talk to me. Tell me what's really going on." His voice faltered, but the urgency pressed through. Jake looked at him, the challenge of vulnerability reflected in his eyes. "You mean like those times you spaced out on me? You don't even really know me anymore," he said, the harshness raw, but undeniably honest.
The words held a mirror to Sam's own struggles, illuminating a fundamental truth he had been evading. It was not only about understanding Jake, it was about confronting the fact that in trying to give his son space, he had ventured too far into the shadows of indifference. "Maybe I haven't done a good job of it," Sam admitted, his heart racing as he laid bare the fissures in their relationship. "But I'm here to try. Let's figure out how to talk." Jake sighed, his posture shifting as the walls seemed to soften momentarily. "Okay, but no more pretending you have it all figured out. Let's just see what happens." As the words hung between them, Sam felt something shift, an ember of hope igniting in the cool morning air. It was the beginning of a path he had long neglected. Yet underneath that hope lay the ominous question: was he ready to face the uncomfortable truths of his own failures as a father? The challenges loomed as thick as the fog, yet Sam grasped for clarity, sensing they were on the precipice of a breakthrough that could either save or fracture their bond forever. With the sun slowly piercing the clouds, the true depths of their connection had yet to be discovered. Sam stood poised, uncertain, yet willing to navigate whatever lay ahead. Would he embrace the revelations Jake was ready to share, or would fear pull them into yet another cycle of misunderstandings? The water shimmered under the tentative sunlight, a stark contrast to the swirl of emotions that danced between Sam and Jake. The air, thick with unspoken words and dormant resentments, felt almost electric. Sam sank into the realization that this was not just a fishing trip, it was an attempt to rewrite their narrative. He recognized they stood at a crucial juncture, grappling with the raw edges of their relationship, and he knew that facing Jake's truth was essential. Summoning courage, Sam considered the weight of authenticity. "I was trying to give you some room, to let you grow," he said, steadying his voice. "But I see now that it became a chasm between us." For a moment, Jake was silent, the prickling tension lingering. "I just don't get it," he replied curtly, his frustration boiling beneath a surface of hurt. "Why bother if you're not really here? I don't want you sitting with me just physically. I want you engaged." Sam's heart dropped at the sting in Jake's words, a criticism painfully accurate. In his efforts to be the cooler dad, he had neglected the emotional engagement that his son craved. The realization folded deep within him, knotting tighter as he processed the regret. "You're right," he said finally, voice trembling. Jake turned away slightly, casting his line with notable vigor. Sam watched, feeling that flicker of resistance from his body language. Every movement from his son seemed to echo a mantra of their strained connection. Fear mingled with determination as Sam recognized this could serve as an invitation or a farewell. How do I be present for you then? Sam challenged himself silently. This was his moment, not just to listen, but to peel back the layers that had obscured their bond for too long. Help me understand. Jake didn't look at him, his brow furrowing in concentration. After a long, pregnant pause, he finally spoke. Just try to see me. Not the kid you hope I'll be. The person I am. The good and the bad. The world around them faded as Sam processed the depth of those words. They were a directive, filled with meaning and vulnerability. Perhaps he had hoped for an easier exchange, an entry into his son's heart that didn't require this level of honesty. With every piece of armor he stripped away, he felt a terrifying vulnerability rise to the surface. What if I don't know how? He responded quietly. Then learn. Ask. Stop making assumptions, Jake countered, a little more fire returning to his voice. The challenge fueled a flicker in Sam's chest, igniting an unexpected determination. This was the pivotal moment he craved to show Jake he was willing to fight for their connection. He would no longer allow fear or past missteps to dictate their future. Okay, I will. I promise to start asking and sharing, not just with you, but with myself. This isn't a one-man show, Sam said, feeling a shift inside himself. The fear of uncertainty dissolved slightly. Perhaps this could be a foundation upon which they could rebuild. As they fished in relative silence, something unshackled within Sam. Each splash of the line echoed his newfound resolve. He would learn to articulate his struggles, to express fears and hopes. The intricate dance of father and son needed work, but now he felt the raw material at his fingertips. Can we start with something simple? He asked tentatively, sensing the softness in the moment. You're right. I don't know the real you. Jake turned. Curiosity mingled with reluctance in his expression. What do you want to know? In that instant, the weight of Sam's own insecurities pulled him back momentarily, but he fought against it. Everything mattered now. Every question, every answer. Let's talk about school, he suggested, carefully threading his words. What do you love about it? What do you hate? Jake's expression shifted, and for the first time, Sam noticed a hint of excitement behind his son's guarded demeanor. As they began opening up, Sam felt the walls gradually crumble. Each shared thought was like a crack of light breaking through the fog. But ambiguity loomed, just as shadows clung to the edges of the fading day. A sense of hope intermingled with fear. Could they sustain this momentum beyond the water's edge? Would they be able to delve into deeper waters together? Before he could examine these thoughts further, his phone buzzed in his pocket, an intrusive reminder of the outside world.
He hesitated, fighting the pull of technology, but the nook of his own unease screamed at him to tune in. As he glanced down, a message lit up the screen that brought a sudden chill. Dad, can I come? You can't come, family only. What lay behind those words triggered a flood of feelings he wasn't prepared to confront. He looked up, meeting Jake's eyes, now filled with curiosity, maybe unease about his reaction. The moment of truth approached, weaving a new thread into the already complex tapestry of their relationship. Would this revelation unveil another layer of Jake's world, or deepen the gap between them once again? Sam's stomach tightened as he stared at the text, the stark words echoing in his mind. You can't come, family only. He felt like a marionette suddenly cut from its strings, adrift in a sea of confusion and hurt. The implications of Jake's words hung heavily in the air, and he glanced at his son, searching for some indication of what this meant. Jake, he began, forcing the words past the lump in his throat. What does that mean? Family? What does this have to do with you? Jake shifted uncomfortably. The weight of Sam's question hung there like a specter, potent and undeniable. You're asking me to see you, Dad, he replied, his tone balancing on an edge of frustration and yearning. But it's hard when you don't even know what's happening in my life. You're stuck in your own bubble. Sam clenched his jaw, realization dawning. The chasm between them wasn't just emotional, it was educational. He was learning now, through every painful interaction, that he hadn't only been neglecting Jake's needs, he had also been denying himself the opportunity to embrace the whole picture. "What am I missing?" he asked, searching. "Everything," Jake stated bluntly. "You're missing what's really happening with me and my friends. You don't see the life I'm building without you." The words cut as the silence that followed extended like a tightrope straining their connection. Frustration bubbled within Sam, and he fought the urge to turn defensive. Instead, he felt his resolve firming. This was not a battle. This was an opening. "Help me understand, please," he said, surprising even himself with the humility in his voice. "I want to be part of your life." "Do you really?" Jake countered, a skeptical lift of an eyebrow disclosing his doubt. "It feels like you just want to fix things when things get messy." "That isn't true," Sam shot back, the defensiveness creeping back into his tone. But as he quickly composed himself, he recognized this moment as a test. He could either retreat or confront the notion that Jake was right to a degree. He needed to prove, not only to Jake but to himself, that he was willing to engage authentically. "Okay, tell me about your friends then," Sam prompted, feeling relief as Jake seemed to embrace the new focus.
Perhaps vulnerability could cultivate a new depth of understanding, a bridge over the emotional gap that separated them. With a reluctant sigh, Jake began. "They're not what you think. They don't care what you used to do. They're just real. We hang out, we talk about everything, and it feels safe." Sam noticed the softness in Jake's voice when he spoke about his friends, his shield momentarily dropping. "What did they talk about?" Sam probed gently, determined to delve deeper into a territory previously unexplored. "Life, Dad," Jake replied, his gaze drifting towards the horizon. "School stuff, girls, what's really going on, like the real stuff, you know?" Sam's chest tightened again, realizing how little he had known about Jake's world, how little he allowed himself to ask. "And do you think it's great to have family issues while they get to have that?" His voice was steady, moving beyond self-doubt, leaning into curiosity. Jake faltered, momentarily off balance. "I guess I didn't think about it that way, but it's just easier. I've had to push you away to figure some things out." Easier. Sam contemplated the implications of that word. He realized then the very act of pushing him away wasn't just a rejection. It was an instinctive self-preservation for Jake in a world that felt overwhelming. "What if I want to be a part of that?" Sam offered, the resolve shifting from desperation to true intent. "I want to know what's really going on with you. The good, the bad, all of it." Jake's expression softened, probably recognizing the earnestness in Sam's voice. "Okay, but you have to promise," he said, searching Sam's face for sincerity. "No more judgments. Just listen. I need that. I need you to bring me into your world too, for real." "I promise," Sam breathed, sensing a connection beginning to tether them together against the fabric of misunderstanding. As they resumed fishing, Sam couldn't shake the underlying dread murmuring in the back of his mind. This newfound path came with risks he couldn't yet fathom. He had taken a step forward, but would he truly unravel the complexities of Jake's life in the way he yearned to? The weight of Jake's earlier text lingered, transforming from an accusation into a catalyst for growth. With each passing moment, Sam felt the tides of their relationship shifting, yet he remained acutely aware that beneath those waters, powerful currents churned. Just as he adjusted the line in the water, his phone buzzed again, another message arriving uninvited. He grabbed it quickly, heart racing. The screen illuminated with another short note from Jake's friend, cascading over him a new wave of anxiety. "Don't say anything. Just stay away. Please." Sam's breath caught, tension knitting tighter across his chest. Was this the unraveling of arms holding them apart, or a deeper, darker truth waiting to be confronted? Sam felt the weight of the words on his phone like an anchor pulling him into unseen depths.
He stared at the screen, feeling an urgent cocktail of confusion and dread swirling within him. Just stay away. The message echoed insistently in his mind, amplifying the static of uncertainty around him. What did Jake's friend know that he didn't? more importantly, what lay at the heart of Jake's world that he had been so reluctant to be part of. Glancing at Jake, who was focused on his fishing line, Sam wrestled with the impulse to confront him about the text. Yet he recalled the promise he had just made. No judgments, just listening. The softness in Jake's earlier expressions lingered in Sam's mind. It represented a connection he desperately sought, but the revelation of this hidden turmoil felt like a hammer poised above a brittle piece of glass. "Jake," he said carefully, voice low enough to prevent a knee-jerk reaction, "can we talk about your friend's message?" Jake's eyes flicked to him, betraying a flicker of apprehension. "What message?" he replied, innocently but guarded. "The one that just came in. He said to stay away." Sam's voice trailed off as he watched his son's posture tense. There was a fight within him, a struggle between seeking truth and preserving this fragile moment. "Look, Dad, that's not—" Jake started, but the tension in his voice stopped him short. "It's complicated." "Complicated how?" Sam pressed gently, willing to navigate the rocky terrain of vulnerability if it meant discovering the truth. Jake sighed, his shoulders sagging as if burdened with an unseen weight. "My friends are facing stuff that you wouldn't understand. They have their challenges, and I don't want you to get in the way." Get in the way? Of what? Sam felt the prickle of frustration rise, but he quelled it, reminding himself of the space he had promised to provide. Is it about the family, your family, or something bigger? Bigger, Jake admitted softly, gaze dropping to the water. Some of them are dealing with things that could put them in danger. Bad relationships, stuff at home, the real life stuff. They trust me, Dad. I just want to help them. The revelation sliced through Sam like a sharp wind. You think if I knew it would ruin everything? No, Dad, Jake shot back, a rare fire igniting in his tone. I think you'd want to fix things, but sometimes things can't be fixed. They just are. That sentiment unfolded layers of complexity Sam hadn't anticipated. How could he support Jake in helping friends who needed him without inserting his own perspective on what could or should be done? A realization began to crystallize. The need here wasn't for solutions, but for solidarity. He needed to be present in Jake's world, but that required him to step out of his own. "How do I help?" Sam asked, words spilling forth with unexpected urgency. "Just listen," his son murmured.
Just be there when I tell you things, without jumping to conclusions. None of this is about you needing to save the day. Sometimes it's just enough to sit across from me and know what I'm dealing with. Sam nodded, the weight of his son's request settling deep within him. The ventilated air was thick with potential. He could feel the invisible threads returning to form connections that had frayed over time. Each moment of honesty nudged him closer to Jake, and the newfound vulnerability kindled a desire to understand the depth of Jason's struggle. After a short silence, he took a breath, gathering himself. "I need to know more about them, about you. But can we also find a balance? Tell me what's okay to discuss with you, and what isn't." Jake nodded slowly, the vulnerability in his eyes shifting into a tentative resolution. "Yeah, I can do that." Just then, Sam's phone vibrated again, interrupting the moment. A frantic message from another number belonging to Jake's friend filled the screen. "I wasn't clear before. They're serious. Please don't try to reach out. It's for your own good." Sam's stomach sank with a deeper sense of dread. Were they grappling with something that transcended teenage turbulence? Would this friendship expose Jake to threats he couldn't begin to fathom? As his heart raced, so did his mind. He was all too aware of the storm clouds of anxiety converging. Was it time to investigate further, to dive deeper into a world that scared him? The very world he had pushed aside for fear of losing his son? One truth sat heavier than all the others. Sam was no longer just confronting Jake's problems. He was staring down the complexities of his own role in their lives. The moment felt fragile, yet charged with potential. With every exchange, Sam sensed they were on the cusp of a pivotal transformation. The air hummed with a question unspoken, yet unmistakably present, wrapping around them like a tempest brewing. "Jake," Sam began, digging for the strength he felt flickering just beneath the surface. "Are we ready to face whatever it is that's really going on together?" And in that suspended moment, Sam understood this could either be the beginning of a new chapter or the precipice of something darker lurking below the surface. The silence that enveloped them felt almost sacred, yet fraught with a complexity that made it difficult to breathe. Sam's heart thudded as he searched Jake's face for clues, desperately wanting to forge a connection, but frightened of what depths that connection might reveal. His mind raced through a multitude of what-ifs, each one more daunting than the last. "Dad," Jake finally broke the silence, his voice barely a whisper. "I think we should talk somewhere else. This isn't a conversation for a fishing dock." Sam nodded, grateful for any action that might ease the tension pooling between them. They walked in silence towards the nearby forest trail, each footstep echoing the gravity of their unspoken fears.
The rhythmic crunch of gravel beneath their feet reminded Sam of how far they had drifted, like shadows growing long in the fading light. Once they reached a more secluded spot under the canopy of trees, Jake leaned against a gnarled oak, arms crossed defensively. Sam took a moment to collect himself, feeling the need for openness tugging at him, yet uncertainty weighed heavily on his tongue. "Jake, whatever it is you're dealing with, you can talk to me. I won't judge or dismiss it. Just let me in," Sam implored, his tone earnest but slightly strained. Jake gazed at the ground, a battle of emotions playing behind his guarded eyes. "It's hard, Dad. You don't know the people involved. If I tell you, you'll be tempted to intervene, and that will only make things worse." "Worse how? What could possibly be worse than you carrying this burden alone?" Sam pressed, his frustration bubbling beneath the surface. The instinct to protect his son was strong, but he was learning that protection sometimes required stepping back. "It's going to sound cliché, but I need to grow up. You can only help someone so much before they have to deal with their own problems," Jake said, his voice trembling ever so slightly. "If you intervene, it might ruin things. The trust I have with my friends is already fragile." Each word struck Sam profoundly. Jake was discovering his own voice in this chaotic world, and here was Sam, on the precipice of recognizing that attempting to shield him might inadvertently undermine that process. "I get that," Sam said, forcing himself to breathe evenly. "But I also can't just stand by and watch you or your friends get hurt. Every parent struggles with this." Jake's expression shifted, like a cloud carting to reveal a shaft of sunlight. "Maybe that's why it's so hard, Dad. You're learning to let go while I'm learning how to hold on." Their eyes locked, and at that moment, Sam felt the tectonic shift in their relationship. No longer the controlling figure, he was a participant in something deeper. It was a trade-off, his instinct to shield replaced by a willingness to allow Jake to navigate his own tumult. They leaned into the dynamic, yet the tide of uncertainty rolled back in. "Just tell me about them, Jake. What challenges are they facing?" Sam urged gently. Jake ran a hand through his hair, a vulnerable gesture that felt like a bridge spanning their emotional chasm. "Some of them are involved with drugs, and others are dealing with abuse at home. I'm talking serious stuff here. Their lives are messy and chaotic. I don't want to drag you into that." With each admission, Sam felt something within him shift, a mixture of fear and respect. To allow Jake to engage with this reality, to grapple with it, simultaneously terrifying and empowering, was a lesson in trust and maturity for them both. "I'm not going to fix anything," Sam reassured him. "I just want to understand. Maybe there's a way to help without jumping in headfirst." Jake's brow furrowed, tracing the lines of uncertainty. "But what if there's nothing you can do? What if I can't escape it?" "Then we face it together," Sam responded, surprising himself with his own resolve. "You're not alone, Jake. Just remember, honesty breeds clarity." In that moment of revelation, the two faced more than the weight of secrets. They faced the ambivalence of their relationship as individuals learning to navigate their own paths. Sam felt a new component of responsibility emerging in their dynamic, not as a sole protector, but as a partner in uncertainty. As the sun dipped below the horizon, a new message pierced the air, one that would shift the fragile equilibrium they'd begun to establish. "Dad," Jake said, his voice suddenly grave, "what I didn't tell you is that one of my friends is being targeted. They're involved in something dangerous, and I don't know how to help without it spiraling out of control." Sam's heart sank, sensing that what lay ahead would redefine everything. "Jake, we have to find a way to confront this, together." And in the dying light of dusk, the reality of their new fight loomed heavy and real, waiting to be unraveled. Would Sam have the strength to navigate this treacherous path alongside his son? Or would their connection become yet another casualty of the shadowy world they were reluctantly stepping into? The forest loomed around them, shadows stretching like fingers reaching to grasp the fragile hope Sam and Jake had just started to weave between them.
Sam was acutely aware of the weighty silence, feeling every heartbeat echo in his ears. The enormity of Jake's revelation settled heavily in the pit of his stomach. As they leaned against the rough oak, the intricate dance of light filtering through leaves felt surreal, almost mocking, given the gravity of their conversation. "Dad," Jake began, his voice quivering with uncertainty, "I don't think you can truly understand what it's like until you're in it. I mean, I've seen things that—" "I believe you, Jake," Sam interjected, concern etching itself deeper across his brow. "But you have to let me in if we're going to face this. What is really at stake here?" Jake shifted uncomfortably, the defensiveness creeping back into his posture. A part of Sam wanted to push further, to break down the walls again, but he fought back that instinct. Instead, he opted for a softer approach, one that invited trust without obligation. Think of it this way. You're in the middle of a storm at sea. Alone, it's terrifying. But if you have someone who understands the waves of your world beside you, it might just calm the waters. Jake looked away, eyes distant, wrestling internally. The way Sam chose to bridge the emotional chasm between them made something inside Jake flicker. He wanted to believe it, yet doubt loomed like dark clouds. "It's not just about me, Dad. It's about them, my friends."
If I blow the whistle, it's not just going to hurt their trust in me. It might endanger my life, too. Sam's heart raced at the implications. "What do you mean? Are you in danger?" A nod, small but resolute, fell from Jake's lips. It instigated a storm of emotions inside Sam. Fear, anger, and an eye-opening realization that Jake was entrenched in a world of consequences previously unknown to him. He knew he had to find a balance. They were no longer just father and son, but now allies confronting an unseen foe. "Let's break it down. What exactly are we dealing with? Who is targeting your friend?" Sam urged, striving for clarity in chaos. "I don't know all the details." Jake clenched his fist, the white knuckles betraying his apprehension. "But I know that these people don't just put fear in your heart. They're capable of far worse. If I say something, they won't just see it as betrayal. They might retaliate." In that moment, Sam fully grasped the magnitude of Jake's journey. It was not just about growing up, it was about survival. The protective instincts within him surged, but he understood he had to tread carefully. Pushing too hard would only risk further alienation. "Jake, it's okay to be scared. It's brave to admit it," he said softly. The vulnerability of their exchange solidified their bond, but also painted a daunting picture of what lay ahead. "I wish I could just make it all go away," Jake said, his expression laden with defeat. "We can't erase what's happening, but we can choose how to respond to it," Sam replied, fortifying his own sense of purpose. The groundwork for a unified front had now been laid, but it would require courage from both parties. "We need a plan. This isn't just about you anymore. It involves protecting your friends, too." As Jake stared into the forest, shadows enveloping them, a flicker of realization sparked in his eyes. "I have to talk to them. They need to know they're not alone." The tension within Sam twisted and turned, filled with doubt about whether this moment was strong enough to launch such a significant step. Yet seeing determination in Jake reminded him, this was about empowerment, not control. "Yes, but we need to ensure you're safe. We need to put a strategy in place first," Sam insisted. "You're not navigating this alone, remember?" A palpable shift occurred, like a slow wave gradually building up momentum, and the unglamorous truth sunk in. Jake was ready to act. The boy who had relied heavily on his father's guidance now stood on the verge of a personal crusade, one that would define them both. As the last of twilight wrapped around them, the resolve ignited a fierce energy between father and son. Jake spoke again, his voice firmer now, uncertainty replaced with the budding courage to confront the unsettling realities before him. "Okay, together then. We figure this out together."
But a moment later, an unsettling thought crept into Sam's mind. The more they uncovered, the more precarious their situation could become. What if they ventured too deep, leading into a danger far more imminent than he could foresee? The uncertain path ahead, now entwined with their determination, felt both liberating and perilous. Would they be prepared for what awaited them? "Let's start by thinking about how to communicate with your friends safely," Sam suggested, the air feeling thicker with the growing weight of their commitment. Yet a gnawing question lingered. What lay beyond the horizon of their newfound alliance? "Dad," Jake hesitated, voice turning serious. "What if we can't stop it?
What if it spirals completely out of control? As the darkness enveloped them, an unsettling truth loomed. Each moment of action forward carried a risk, an impending confrontation that could change everything they knew about bravery, trust, and survival. Would they find a way through, or would they become trapped, ensnared by the very shadows they sought to combat? The dawn of a new day broke over Sam and Jake like an unseen promise, illuminating their fraught journey with a glimmer of hope. Sam blinked against the sunlight filtering through the trees, the fresh air carrying whispers of the challenges that now lay ahead. The night they spent unraveling fears had marked an undeniable shift. This was no longer just about fishing. It was about survival, connection, and the tenacious strength woven into their father-son dynamic. "Jake," Sam began, the determination in his voice steady yet warm, "we need to set a clear path forward." He could sense the urgency thrumming just beneath the surface, an undeniable blend of fear and dedication binding them together in this difficult moment. Jake nodded, eyeing the ground but flickering with glimmers of resolve. "I know it's going to be rough. My friends aren't just dealing with teenage drama anymore. It's dangerous." The shadows of uncertainty loomed, but Sam understood that grappling with reality was part of Jake's growth, and he was there to support him. "It is, but it's also important that we remain vigilant about your safety. We'll need a strategy to keep you grounded." They settled into a rhythm, sketching a map of action points for Jake to navigate the complexity of his friends' lives while maintaining his own well-being. Sam proposed discreet methods for communication, using coded messages that wouldn't raise flags, regular check-ins that would ensure Jake's trust was not just a promise, but a shared responsibility. Their discussion turned into a pact of mutual accountability, a promise that opened a door to honesty they'd both been yearning for. "I'll keep you in the loop," Jake iterated, the seriousness of his tone reflecting the gravity of their resolution. "No more secrets between us." Sam felt the knot of tension in his chest loosen.
They were creating a platform where both could exist authentically, pushing against the silence that had so long defined their relationship. "And I promise to listen, truly listen, not just to give advice, but to understand everything you're facing, the weight of it all," Sam said, a firm conviction blooming within him. As they began to walk back toward the truck, Jake paused, looking at Sam with a fierce blend of vulnerability and gratitude. "Thanks, Dad, for not making me feel alone in this. It feels better knowing I have someone to share the load with," he revealed, a sense of confidence budding in his posture. Now, as they drove back to the familiar confines of home, the air remained thick with determination. Sam reflected on how pivotal moments had culminated over the past few months, illuminating where they stood today. Two individuals facing the unknown, united in their commitment to embrace honesty over pretense. Their discussions became a routine, each one building upon the last rather than retreating into silence. They created boundaries, symbolizing a newfound respect for Jake's independence while allowing for a father's loving oversight. Weeks turned into months, and as challenges mounted, so too did their strength. Each time Jake faced adversity amongst friends, he communicated, seeking Sam's support without hesitation or shame. It blossomed into a rhythm where they could lay their fears bare, and Sam listened with intention, consistently validating Jake's autonomy without undermining his experiences. Through this experience, Sam unlocked parts of himself previously hidden. The anxiety melted away, replaced by a deep-seated confidence in his role as both parent and ally. The weight of being a sole provider transformed into the lightness of being a steward of growth. Looking back, Sam could clearly see the distance they had traveled. The uncertainty that once bound them felt like threads stitched together by prayer and purpose. No longer was he a spectator in Jake's life. He was an integral part of the fabric, an ally aimed at fostering resilience and wisdom. On the day that Jake made the decision to intervene in one of his friend's situations, Sam felt an overwhelming surge of pride. The boy he had worried about was now a young man taking charge, becoming an agent of change not just for himself but for those he cared about. Together they faced an encounter that could have toppled either of them, yet, with Sam's unwavering support, Jake emerged with renewed respect from his friends. "I did it, Dad," Jake exclaimed, breathless and exuberant as he returned home, his glow radiating confidence. "I talked to them, they listened," he stated proudly, a glimmer of triumph lightening the weight on his shoulders. "It's your courage that changed everything," Sam replied, feeling a swell of satisfaction bloom in his heart, recognition uncovering the profound metamorphosis he had witnessed in Jake. Now, however, it was Sam's turn. He realized that just as Jake had embraced his independence, he had carved out his own space, solidified his role not just as a father,
but as an unwavering partner through adversity. Each step they took became less about clinging to tradition and more about building a future, defined and refined by a mutual understanding that upheld independence without sacrificing love. In this journey, what had seemed impossible began to manifest into a beautiful bond. As they sat on the porch watching the sunset spill over the horizon, Sam knew they had fought hard to cultivate their relationship. Together, they persisted into a horizon so bright it merely whispered of the triumphs still to come. "Let's keep doing this, Jake. Whatever happens next, let's tackle it as a team," Sam proposed, the truth of their evolved relationship evident in the warmth of his voice. "Definitely, Dad," Jake agreed, the bond between them strengthened by scars, experiences, and triumphs. Together. In that moment, they both recognized that their journey wasn't merely about overcoming the challenges of the past. It was about celebrating each step toward building a future that echoed with the harmonious balance of love and individuality. As they embraced the rising sun, it was more than a new day. It was a new chapter, bathed in the promise of unshakable trust, open hearts, and the unbreakable bond of family forged anew. Now, if you've resonated with this transformative journey, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel to join us for the next exclusive emotional stories. Your support matters. Leave a like now to fuel the algorithm and spread these essential narratives. Don't wait even one more second. Comment your reactions and theories about this impactful ending. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to embrace the importance of connection and personal growth. Your engagement makes a difference. Together, we can soar higher.